Good afternoon. My name is Carlos Ramirez. I am a bilingual kindergarten teacher at John Haley Elementary at the Irving Independent School District. I am a candidate in the EDLD program pursuing a principal certification at Lamar University. For this activity, I chose the leading video option number one that states under the direction of your campus mentor, plan a meeting that you lead with a focus group to assess the effectiveness and perceived importance that professional development has in teacher growth. The focus group should be comprised of a broad spectrum of teachers that are representative of the campus as a whole. Present your findings and your recommendations to the campus leadership team. The activity was about creating some I had a meeting with my mentor. We got together and worked on some guiding questions so we can have the perception of my colleagues. So the purpose of the meeting was to identify and address the areas of need of our campus. Um, we made recommendations for effective and relevant professional development, and we're going to take that data and try to present it to our administration. We're going to be using guiding questions, the ones that I created alongside with my mentor. So we prepare the guiding questions on different areas that we perceive that we need the school culture. We have some questions about instruction, about planning, data use, and also assessment. Um, I I chose this option because I wanted to know or to learn more about my colleagues' perception about how things are working at school, and to find out the different needs that they see. That some of them are definitely going to be different than mine because they have different experiences from different grade levels. And but at the same time, we can get together and find some solutions and apply our knowledge so we can get some consensus of what we need to do for starting for next year. So basically, it's getting an idea right now so we can set up something in motion so we can have something ready by the beginning of the next school year. Um, and now the faculty, what was present there were some of my colleagues from kindergarten. Ana Cortez, there was Katie Marion from also kindergarten. First grade, we had Laura Benavides. We have our math coach, Mr. Homero Guerrero, also the reading coach, Ms. Violeta Ojeda. So they all participated during that meeting. On the agenda, I included a welcome note, introduction. I introduced the guiding questions and also the different areas that we had. So, I already stated the purpose of the meetings to we identified and address areas of need at the campus. Um, so let me talk a little bit about the guiding questions that we had on culture. It was basically talking about if we had a behavior system at our school. And there's some things in place, but there's some things that we definitely need to change. Also, we talked about how important it's to keep our students and staff. So that was another question, staff and student safety. Also, how do we support our students in need if we have systems in place so that we can support our kids and their different needs academically, emotionally, and socially. Um, on instruction, uh, we need to know. We need to be aware where the information is coming from. So we base it on our standards. Where do we find your standards? Are we aligned with the district? Are we vertically aligned? How do we use student data? We're going to talk about that. and some examples of how to use the data, how to apply it, and the different interfaces that we have. So that's for instruction. And for data use, is different data and how we collect it with different software that we have from the district. We also have well, the STAR, the CPAA, the CBAs, all the kind of testing, formative and summative. For planning, how do we plan? We get together, we collaborate. How do you know you're using the proper standards mandated by the state? And if we get a planning time schedule for collaborations, the different assessments that we use, and finally we had a conclusion right at the end of the agenda, and we're going to discuss, or we're going to write statements of the different suggestions that we're going to have to present to our administration. And about the final assessment is we're going to take some notes, and well, my focus is I'm going to try to have the group write different suggestions and statements. So that could be our focus for professional development. So now that we have the needs, we need to know how to we're gonna work them out. So first we let's say we're gonna try to build up like a draft to see what are we gonna do, then try to present it to administration, and make a develop and implement an actual plan. Uh, Oh, okay. You're talking about the timing, how far along. The We had a problem with scheduling, so there was only one time that was during after school. No, I'm sorry, during our planning, and we only have 45 minutes. So most of the meeting went pretty quick, but I guess it's gonna be long enough. And materials, well, I had a PowerPoint with me. They all brought their laptops, so we had the questions in front. Okay, finally, to collect the data, well, we're going to collect the data, and also try to ask them where they're gonna, what degree of importance the professional development has for them. So it's going to be like setting it up like individual questions to see what's going to be their perception on that. And finally, uh, at the end, I create a survey too, so I can have some feedback about if this professional development was effective or not. That's to be seen. No, I think that's great. Okay. Well, thank you for coming, and welcome. So the whole idea is we're going to write some statements. We're going to use some guiding questions so we can make statements to create effective and relevant professional development. After we're done with this, I'm going to present the information. I'm going to take whatever we decide to do, and then we're going to take it to administrators to see what they think. So mainly it's about having an idea of what we're going to do starting next year. This is the agenda. Welcome. Thanks. Introduction. We're going to talk about the guiding questions in each one, culture, instruction, planning, data, use, and assessment. And of course, at the end, we need to conclude with that, what we're going to do. So here's the introduction. The purpose of the meeting is to identify and address areas of need at our campus. So it's going to be either based on culture, what we know of our students, that's going to include the climate of the school, also behavioral plans that we have at our school at the campus level, but also individual classrooms. And at the same time, we're going to do recommendations for effective and relevant professional development, and we're going to present our findings to the leadership. We will use the guiding questions to facilitate discussion. I've prepared some questions on different areas, so that's going to be culture, that we just talked about, the behavior, the climate, the teacher morale, the instruction, data use, how we're going to use the data, how to apply it, how to analyze it, and finally, planning and assessment. So, why is teacher development important? Because students deserve the best. And this is just a brief idea that I got from Utopia. It is critical for veteran teachers to have ongoing and regular opportunities to learn from each other.
ongoing professional development keeps teachers up to date on new research and how children learn. Emerging technology tools for the classroom, new curriculum resources, and more. The best professional development is ongoing, experiential, collaborative, and connected to and derived from working with students and understanding the students' culture. So we're going to do some guiding questions on the culture of the school. That includes morale, behavior of the students, and expectations, instructions, what can we do and what do we know to make our instruction better, and how to use the data, and finally the planning and assessment. So each of those areas are going to have from 3 to 5 different questions. So we're going to get together as a group. We're going to try to find answers to that questions. At the end, we're going to create like a statement or a goal for each of those, and then that's at the end we're going to put it together and present it to our administration. That's basically the idea for this training. So we're going to start with culture. Ms. Cortez, can you be my scribe? Spears, okay. Thank you, Ms. Spears.
She's faster.
Thank you.
She's almost there. Almost there. Oh, no, it's Katie. Cheers. Okay.
Okay, first question for culture. Is there a clear and consistent behavior system in place? So not only talk about our campus, but also classrooms. Do you think we have something in common?
You all do the PBIS for the golden tickets through for a school, like that's school-wide, but I feel like the classroom-wise, it's different.
I think that according to the students, everybody sets up their own priorities within the classroom. I mean, there's the basic ones, quiet in the hall, follow directions. The 5 key ones, keep your hands to yourself and all that. But like Katie said, the PBIS is also a very good one for the whole school in general.
Remember that well, when I first started here, they had the system. In each classroom, we all had the same rules, right? We all followed it was 8 principles or something.
Yeah.
So maybe we should
go back and
go back and go back to.
Which one?
That could be one of our recommendations.
Which one? Go back to
The
the.
6.
Oh, okay.
Because there's some of the pillars of characters, and then 7.
Well, it's 6 pillars of character, and then the 7 rules of conduct, I think. Where we had them on the baseball.
Yes.
And the 7
Rules of conduct.
Oh, y'all can't see what I'm typing, can you?
No.
Oh, no, because you're not on that.
Do you want to switch? Maybe you can switch it. Do you want to?
Does that help? Just so you can see what we wrote or thought or something. Then we go to bank
Yes.
Oh, she's gonna
Oh.
write on yours.
You're gonna do it on mine.
We do yours, we see the way
See, there
somebody
it is.
has to be connected.
So can you type on here? Because you already have it on the Word document,
Okay,
no?
okay.
Yeah, it's not.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be hard, but.
Yeah. Hopefully it's not good.
Okay. And then,
I'll take it to the office.
Okay, you're typing on the
wrong one?
That's the wrong one.
Oh, yeah, wrong one.
let's see.
Sorry, but I'm going to consider, I know that's wrong. You might want to
To
consider
consider
and review the 6.
6 pillars of character.
Number 7, oops, 7 rules of conduct.
got it?
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else?
No, that's fine. It's okay, you don't have to check it.
Okay,
Yeah,
all right,
we'll do it at the
Yeah.
end.
okay.
Okay. And
Yeah.
then, yeah, we can present it to them and
Yeah.
let's discuss.
And then for the systems are in place, well, we do have our safety committee that takes care of for that sort of student safety.
Or safety committee?
Yes. And I guess that we are in compliance with the district codes on for practicing all the, how do you call it?
Oh, like the, drills.
All the drills, like
Yeah.
emergency
Fire.
drills, fire,
With district.
Earthquake, special weather,
the district.
and.
What is that, safety codes?
Yes,
Yeah.
I put examples?
no, I think that's,
Okay. Alright.
we can,
And how do
Okay.
you support Atlas?
Anything else?
Alright, how do we support at-risk students and meet their needs academically, emotionally, and socially?
When it comes to supporting the needs of the kids, academically, we have a lot of tutoring, a lot of one-on-one.
and for emotional needs, well, we have the SSP in place, and that's
We have tutoring and what?
Tutoring, the SSP meetings for emotionally,
for emotional and social, well, emotional distress maybe, and that also could
What about that? We're 504, like planning,
yes.
okay. 504 meetings,
Yeah, to determine the support that the students need.
but, I don't know, I feel like this year though, I feel like, I don't know, some of our kids in sport earlier in the year that they didn't get,
So,
so,
And then we just wing off as needed.
yeah.
so I guess that would be another recommendation
That would be a
Yeah.
recommendation,
Yeah, what was it?
that,
Oh,
that
in the beginning of the year, when we fill out that Google Doc form for the
Yeah.
SSPs, that like one, I could be like one child that didn't start getting services until after Christmas, and he was on there day 2.
So I guess maybe recommending that have something set up on the first on 2 weeks, because you
Get a time frame.
you're gonna need your observations. You're gonna see what students you're gonna have from last year. So maybe they already have some services, so you can start from that plan and
Or
start
maybe
from there.
even,
okay,
like
what
being,
I know, I'm typing, but I'm going, y'all are going one ahead of me, and I'm,
well, or even being like notified about like what is the time, like, hey, we're gonna come in and like, we got this kid on the Google Doc form or whatever, and this is the time frame that we can come in and look at them. So otherwise, because you're just kind of sitting there wondering, like, did they get it, did they not get it, did they know that he needs
So
to
a
be observed?
verification
so-
of
Who's on the list?
received list and then a time frame for future services, basically.
verification,
Received received
Services.
services request. And then a time frame of when services might be provided.
and services for,
Might be provided.
come here, right here. See, guys, I'm sorry, we're having,
No, it's okay.
Okay,
Let's
yeah, provided, there you go,
so,
let's go to the next slide to instruction. So we can see those.
oh, you don't want to finish the last two?
No, let's
Okay,
just
where
go
is it?
because that's
That is,
yeah.
okay,
Okay, this is talking about if our curriculum is standard space, and how do you know that it's standard space and it's vigorous? So
Well, it's standard based because we follow the
state,
end grade on the state
And-
T's.
yeah,
okay,
text.
so maybe we can say that we follow the TEKS stated on the. Well, it's not the
And
It's not the CPG, but
the Irving ISD curriculum.
and it's
Can we follow the what?
The TEKS.
district curriculum,
Oh.
because that it's aligned with the TEKS.
Okay.
And that we have a district team that takes care of that. So it's I guess it's not just a campus, but a district-wide decision. And our specialists, they're the ones that separate
Establish and
yeah, and they take care of it.
accommodate all the needs.
Yeah, we should district-wide decision
Uh-huh.
that we follow.
To follow
To
the
follow.
yeah, to follow the state text essential knowledge and skills.
How often is student?
There.
Yeah, it's a lot easier.
Okay.
Okay.
I think for the second one, how often is student learning data reviewed by the teachers? It's like every day and
On a
ongoing.
daily basis. As needed, as
Are
required.
we, because we're not taking formal grades, we're like hundreds or whatever.
Every day we base what the child might need.
Yeah, because more in the lower grade levels, I guess, is more observation
Yeah.
than data.
Yeah,
Because
I mean,
The-
data, like.
yeah, this
like
question
the
is mostly about
CPAA tests and stuff,
yeah.
or like the NNAT that we took in the fall, because we don't take as many like tests.
No, because in the older grades they do how do you call it, the district assessments.
Math,
Then
the
yeah.
CBAs, the
So
benchmarks.
I guess it's mostly about how you gather that data from, let's call it official instead of just observation,
Okay.
and how you put it together and to analyze it and from there, well, base your instruction on that data, on those results.
Okay.
So I guess that goes to the next question.
So
How do you-
we're to observation as well as
For, yeah, as well, so in the lower grades, it's more observation, and then for the upper grades, so it's more like when you use like the benchmark tests and the district assessments to, guide your lessons and planning on what they need.
there, right, better?
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess that was like the same thing as I said. for the
Okay.
next one.
Sorry, I'm just trying to
No,
like.
it's
Yeah, no,
okay.
no.
How do you simplify this
Oh,
decision?
just two.
Well, the data helps you separate your kids into the grouping, the groups of level groups. It also lets you know what each individual student needs to be able to align it with the TEKS.
Alright, yeah, and for now that you mentioned CPAA and sometimes we used to do a iStation, the software already creates the tiering process, so, yeah, so you got your tier 1s, tier 2s, and tier 3s already divided. And we also have the advantage that, well, with CPAA, that you automatically receive your tiers, so you
Yeah.
know where to group them, and it also, well, you get your recommendations for activities.
Okay.
You don't have to type all that out,
Okay.
just CPAA, so it's
I
it.
just put, data CPA helps group students by their needs or by their ability. So you're focusing on two different things, all right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna do the iStations back.
Where?
Yeah, or be able to use it again, cause we
Oh.
can't use it.
I like it better than CPA.
Yeah.
It's a little bit harder at least, because it's CPA, it keeps repeating the same thing over and over, and
Yeah.
they just memorize it. Alright, and examples of student learning data used in the school and classroom, or some examples.
What are some examples of student learning data used in school? Student learning data.
Well, if you're doing CPAA,
Now that we're talking about CPAA,
because he groups it for you, the kids in certain
yeah,
levels.
I'll tell you like which kids need to work
and
on what.
that would be the example. CPAA.
CPA would be,
Well, wouldn't that be also your DRAs?
well,
Oh,
we're
yeah.
doing it by reading,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
CPA in,
DRA2.
uh-oh. You're you did this one example, just so
Yeah,
CPA,
that's-
okay, so that's fine?
And then also student, teacher observation. Because sometimes the CPAA might not reflect what
incarceration.
And classroom.
And the last one is, what interventions are in place for students not mastering the standards? So I talked about very,
Small group.
small group tutoring, and, our paraprofessionals.
Another
That's,
professional.
yeah, that's, that's what I like the best from this school is that we have that support.
Yeah.
Because it's not only on you, that, everybody's trying to support you, well, at least, until,
Yeah. Yeah.
So small groups,
tutoring,
tutoring and,
and, the help, and support of our paraprofessionals. Well, and also our specialists, because I've seen, it's okay at tutoring and just in math, they do the same thing.
I don't know, I see Rios after school with kids,
Yeah.
tutoring.
But the
parents
No,
and,
okay, so it's, but they do get support, right? Because Bustos takes them out for math, at least Mr. Falcon, no? All right,
what about
that could
volunteers?
be one of the suggestions. So
Oh,
parent
what about
volunteers, yeah.
Volunteers is a big help too. You're telling me.
Okay. Need the next slide?
All right, yes.
Okay.
Next, data. So one, of course, well, we already talked about it, observations. Ours,
What's that, like the changes to
CPAA,
CBA, the DRA.
are we still doing, well, yeah, the district assessments, how do you call them?
The CBAs.
The CBAs. And that's for,
Campus.
reading and math.
Based assessment.
The what?
Campus-based assessment is CBA.
Oh.
That's the CBA. And of course, upper grade level says, STAR.
Yeah.
Do they have a different system? Like the CPAA to monitor your progress?
Probably
They
starting.
do the map. No, MAP.
Oh, math.
MAP, I think. On a daily basis, no, we do.
Well, you do it.
Okay.
As needed.
Well, some of them are gonna be on a daily basis. But there's some like the end of course, testing that there's no way you're gonna use the data until the beginning of the next year.
So some on a daily and others at the end of the 6 weeks testing.
Well, and also, well, let's say for the CPAAs, we only are doing, beginning, middle, and end of the year.
In case.
I think that's it. And then the last one, I guess it's talking about what do you do with the data? So let's say, now that you know, based on my DRAs, you know how to group your kids. That could be one.
I guess it will, way, I mean, grouping kids, what do you need to reteach, or go back and go over? Everybody, this stuff they should already know.
Well, like with us, in math, once you get like your CPAA data, then you know what, ticks to refocus on, what to reteach, and how to group the kids so that those that know the information don't have to go through it again.
Right.
Okay.
So then, you know, you're just reteaching the ones that really need it, and then the other ones can keep on going.
Yeah, then maybe you can decide if you're gonna keep on going or just hold it back, or you can do that same data for reteaching, but not for all your students.
Not
Cause
everybody,
not all of them are gonna need it, so So that way you can adjust your small group instruction and well deliver the instruction that they need.
according to the needs and.
Based on many groups in the math, you know, that kids need to be taught again and not to be focused again. To
Yeah,
be
well,
focused
Retard.
and retaught. I don't need to put it again, do I?
No.
Yeah, and I thought it was all, okay, retaught. But that's what I need to put,
No, that's good.
okay.
RE/talk.
RE/talk. Yeah.
Oh,
There.
what's like,
The wiggly lines are
you
driving.
know what, it's so hard because I'm watching
Yeah,
the
'cause you're watching
screen,
over there,
and
you're
I don't
trying to
have it
type
right
right.
here, so that's why I'm trying to figure out where I'm going.
No, well, thank you for doing this, 'cause I'm really slow at typing, yeah.
Oh,
We would be in question 1.
How do you plan what you were teaching?
According to your, grade and your, six schedules.
Yeah, and it goes back to the last 2 areas, to instruction, where are you gonna base it? So of course you're gonna start with your TEKS, and
where?
on the last one, on the very first one,
On
the first
one
question,
up there.
it's still the same one.
Okay,
That you're gonna use your TEKS, but at the same time you're gonna use the data. Maybe too many lines.
oh, so you your cheeks,
Yes, but you need to make sure that it's aligned to your TEKS. And also you're gonna use your data. That's gonna drive your instruction, see where your kids are at, and see if you can continue going to the next standard, or stay the same, or where to focus, or which standard you're gonna use for each of your tier groups.
and then,
And also we could mention there that there's a lot of planning, a lot of heads involved in your planning. That is not
It's
teacher
not a
led.
one
Yeah.
teacher led.
Yeah. So that could be one of
It's a team planning.
that could be one of the suggestions. That it's you're creating one thing, but there's 5 people thinking about it. So by the time you get your idea, somebody's going to change it, and it's going to be, and it's not what your kids need, because you're the only one that knows how they're going to react, if they're going to do it, they're going to know it, or if it's going to work. Sometimes it's going to be too low, sometimes it's going to be too hard. And I'm sorry, Miss Beard.
it's all right.
Just got the way I do.
So do I
Yeah.
put something else?
No.
Okay,
No, just at the end we can just draw some conclusions
Yeah.
and suggestions that we can have.
okay, so I'm
Instead
right.
of just typing. No,
Okay.
we'll do it at the end.
Okay,
How do you know you're teaching the proper standards?
It's tick level.
It's
tick
tell us what to teach.
led.
They tell us what to do.
Thanks.
TEKS and angry and the district curriculum, and also you could go all the way to the district policy, because it's gonna be there. Because it's there what your standards are for your depending on your grade level.
okay. We'll have to correct all this spelling.
Yeah, don't worry about that. Okay, question 3 is about planning times. Are teachers planning time scheduled for collaboration of creative and content areas?
Yes. They're scheduled for collaboration of grade or content areas.
And then last year we did the vertical alignment. So we had different groups for science. So I was in science, social studies, math.
So every grade knew what everybody was aiming for to reach the end in mind, which is the
alignment, and then what else?
So that all the grade levels knew what everybody was needing to teach to accomplish the same goal.
That sound all right? So all the grade levels were on the same page, what is being taught in these grade, how they progress, how they, so they can see, oops. Cheeks. How these cheeks goes from one grade level to the next, or how? How these cheeks? How it's,
Teams follow students from level to level. From one level to another.
they follow,
Students from one level to another.
follow students, like what levels?
From one level to another.
Oh. Okay. Okay. Whoa.
Okay, that one, can you read that one now? What,
Formative
formative
assessments
assessments are used by the school to gauge
To gauge
students.
a student's learning.
CPAA, the NNAT,
The what?
or the,
The NNAT
For
is,
the GT? you
yeah,
said?
the GT,
Uh,
that wouldn't be one
but
though.
no, I guess it's not, cause it's not for every, well,
well, the CBAs and STAR.
So in the DRAs, would those be considered still?
I think
Yeah.
so.
formative.
Yeah, formative. Okay, and back at the last one, how do we ensure that instruction is adjusted based on formative and or summative assessments? So I guess just refer to your data, right? Go back to
Use
your
data to arrange groupings
Mhm.
according to each student's needs.
Refer to data?
Yeah. So now, just because we're running out of time, should we do just a small statement on suggestions? Is that okay?
Yeah,
Hey, where do you
Go-
want me to put
Go
that?
back to culture. And so we can just write I'll write it down. You don't have to
Okay,
type. For no, go where the questions are on culture. There. So from there, we said that suggesting is to make
the,
culture make the process.
for, on the first one,
Yes.
Um,
We talked about
we talked
the
about using
SPs
the,
being more. They want to call it effective or.
yeah, or, I don't know, just a verification of timelines and, yeah,
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
And then, for data use, what could we recommend based on the questions? Go to the next one, Ms. Cruz, please. Go to the next slide.
Alright, how the data, how do we use the data to guide instruction?
Yeah.
And it seems like the only formative assessment we're taking with our kids is the CPAA really, besides DRAs.
So,
So do they,
we
do
need something different
more
for.
formative assessments? I guess if you had,
More tools for it?
yeah, more tools
More
for
tools for
formative
assessment,
assessment,
yeah.
yeah.
well, if it's gonna be basically on that data, be doing these.
Like, for like the, I don't know how like we had asked for like the reading A to Z and stuff, like that would have been a good tool to use, cause that way the kids are logging in and it's automatically assessing the reading level based on that, and that's another way to help group them, kind of like the iStation thing there, but the reading A to Z they can do at home too, like they can have their own student login and use it at home.
Well, we used to have a computer program that they were able to do at home.
Yes.
They had their own PIN number and everything. Or
Right,
even with the number here at
Right.
school, as long as they know how to get into the
Yeah.
program, they can do it
do it
at
at
home.
home.
All right, guys.
Okay,
You
can
got
you
any-
do let's just do the last one, the data use, and then
Okay.
other day. Data use.
I think a better breakdown of the data would be better.
Better
to want to
breakdown?
understand.
Okay, just before you go, thank you for coming. And I'm gonna give you this. We're gonna use that as well. I'm gonna use it as feedback too, just for the purpose of this training. And all the information that we have here, I'm just gonna type it up, put it all together, and try to present it to Ms. Sandy so she can evaluate and we can determine something positive to start professional development for next year. Okay.
Awesome.
All right. Thank you for coming.
Good, thanks.
Okay, now for the as a summary for the activity, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the questions that we have about the whole activity. So I'm gonna start with the questions on the needs and culture. So our guiding question number one was: is there a clear and consistent behavior system in place? And yes, we do a school-wide behavior system, and it works both for students but also for staff. So we have celebrations every Friday, so kids win their golden tickets, and so those does the staff. And but also I remember, well, one of the suggestions that some other years we've had the six pillars of characters. We also had the eight traits of the tigers. I guess that was the name, and it was just basically some guidelines to follow, and it was we applied it in every single of our classrooms, but also on our hallways, and students knew the expectations and they knew how to behave all around the school. So our suggestion is to maybe bring it back that system. And we also the second question was what systems are in place to ensure staff and student safety, and well we talked about the compliance and the fire department always makes sure that we're complies with their fire code. So I guess on that place we're doing a good job. There's we have a very strict security system, so not a lot of people can access the building. There's well there's a system in place for that. There's only way in, and only the teachers have teachers and staff have access to the school, so that keeps us safe, and that's well, it enhances the learning environment so that the staff and students feel safe at the school. The third question was, how do you support at-risk students and meet their needs academically, emotionally, and socially? Uh, and we suggested that, well, we do have SSP meetings, we do have 504 meetings, but we need to find a way or implement a different system so we can do things a lot faster. So we brought the case that this year we had some students that we requested SSPs for discipline, but also for speech referrals. And then we go back all the way to September, and we actually now, like next week, we're going to have the SSP, and we're already in April. So that took too long, and it's it is a disservice to our kids. So we need to find a way to make things promptly, so they can get the services they need. That's another of our suggestions. That's definitely a need, something we need to work on, and that goes for everybody, not just the administrators or counselors or the speech pathologists. We must find a way to serve our kids a lot faster with the SSP. Uh, our next area was instruction. We talked about the campus curriculum and if they are standards-based and rigorous. And mostly all our teachers agree that we are in alignment with the district. And how do we know? Well, if you we go back and check. It's called Ngrade, the system, the software that we use. So our curriculum is written by specialists by the district. So they go and check all the standards with the district first. Then they send it to us to our specialists, and the specialists give it to us. So that's the way our lesson planning works. We get the curriculum first. Well, they write the curriculum based on the standards. They send it to a specialist, and the specialist gives it to us, and that's the way that teachers work their lesson plans. Um, and also we based we can see if our instruction and our curriculum is rigorous with everyday observations, not only walkthroughs by administrator, but just teacher observations. We see we're aligned, if we're using the standards right, and make the necessary adjustments as you go. And for the upper grades, to find out if we're still on standards, well, they have more benchmark testing. Uh, Next question was, how do you use student learning data to make decisions and instructional strategies? So we talked about how we use in the lower grades CPAA, and the upper grades they use MAPS. So that's a good way to track and well, to make decisions. Software already has a system in place that divides your students by tiers. Also, teacher observations, and let's say by the use of DRAs, you can know that your students level. You're going to group them by level, so that's a good way to use data. And a suggestion on instruction and data, it's how also finding a system to get all that information together in a big chunk, instead of trying to get a piece from here and over there and over there and find the data in different places. We have to consolidate all the data in a single document, so we can have access to it and make the important decisions based on that. Uh, what are some examples of student learning data used in the classroom? Well, CPAA, DRA, and teacher observation. I already talked about it. And what interventions are in place for students not mastering the standards? Uh, uh, at the district level, we're big on small group instruction, and in my area, reading, we have it's based on guided reading. So small groups, we do small groups every single day. How the groups are leveled by tiers, depending on CPAA, depending on DRAs, depending on maps. Teachers get a say on how they're going to be divided, but also sometimes your specialist gets into it. So let's say for reading, I'm sorry, it gets into the decision making. For reading, your specialist is gonna, well, she's gonna analyze your data. She's gonna try to group the your students to the best of her knowledge. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, because at the end of the day, you're the teacher and you really know your kids, and you can make that decision by yourself. And also, well, aside from the small group, we do tutoring at least 2 times a week. So teachers have a say. If you want to do it in the morning, we want to do it in the afternoon. And also, we have a lot of help from our teacher assistants, they and prayer volunteers. What they do is, as it's not only small group and guided reading, it's a different program where the paraprofessionals and the volunteers, they pull out your kids. So let's say you have 2 kids on level 3 that you're gonna get them on, up to level 4, level 6. That they're gonna pull them out, set them to the side, and work with them. And it's not only for low kids, also to bring either your middle kids up or your high kids a little bit higher, so they're gonna be ready for the next grade. Data use, we talked about how the data is collected to improve student learning. That was one of the questions. So we said, well, we have our observations, the teacher observations, or principal observations. You have, well, your software is the CPAA, your maps, upper grades have the STAR. CVAs for reading and math, that's the district-based assessments. And how often do teachers review the data? Well, that depends on that was another one of the questions, and that's gonna depend on the assessment that you used. We try to do DRAs at least twice a week for reading. we try to do a CBA, the campus assessment, every 6 weeks. That's for math. So each time that you're assessing your kids, you uh, gather the data, you analyze it, you try to uh, make your groups for small group instruction, and also adjust your instruction. See what needs to be retaught, or what students are going to be needing that instruction. That necessarily doesn't mean that the whole class is gonna receive the same well receive the same, let's say, reteaching of that standard. Um, and what's that the outcome of the review? After reviewing the data, what do we do? Well, based on the scores, the example was based on the array. We based them in by reading groups, and in math, uh, based on the district assessment. That's how you're gonna make your groups. And once again, that the suggestion is gonna tie back for the instruction and data is suggesting our administrators how to put those two together so we can have one consolidated data sheet, so we have all the information that we need on one single document instead of having trying to pick up information from different places. Next area is planning and assessment. And our first question was, how do you plan what you're teaching? Uh, going back to the second one, to instruction. So how do you know what that you're planning the right thing? So we have the Ngrade, that's the software again that we used, and our curriculum writers, they take care of aligning our curriculum with the standards, with the TEKS. Um, but also we need to check our data, see where our students are at, see we need to adjust the instruction, see what needs to be retaught, and how our groups are gonna work. And also, uh, at least at this time of the year, we're trying to get them ready for the next year. So let's say in kindergarten right now, we're trying to go a step forward and get them ready to first grade. And so first grade has the same plan right now, trying to focus on second grade standards, so we can teach them right now to push them a little further. So uh, that's going to be one of our suggestions, because we have in from transition from the lower levels. I'm sorry, lower grades. So let's say we have a plan from kindergarten to first to second, but there's nothing there from second to third, because there's where they go to the big change when they start presenting the start, and that's one of our biggest gaps. Not only in our school, but that's district wide. Something happens to our kids from second to third, so we must develop a plan to see how we're going to address that problem with those students, see how we're going to help them, see if we can create a plan that will actually have them ready at, and also test ready. To learn how to test, there's something that we don't have, so they don't learn how to test until they get to second grade. That's another one of our suggestions for planning and also assessment. Third question is, for planning and assessment, are teachers planning time schedule for collaboration of grade content areas? And yes, we have a plan to our time to plan. Um, we You plan with not only with your grade level, but also with your subject area. So we have some teachers that plan for reading, some other teachers for reading and social studies, other teachers plan for math and science. And our recommendation there for our administrators is that in the past, what we did was we had the vertical teams. So we have a representative from each grade level on different subject areas. So all science teachers from K5 will get together and plan and be ready for, well, and develop a plan for the for every 6 weeks. That's how we met. That made it a lot easier to plan because you knew what was coming. Because there's sometimes that you as the teacher, you're prepared to do your part, but you don't know what they're gonna do at the first grade, second grade level. You don't know the standards, you know the expectations. So when you have those types of meetings, you have that you have that conversation. So you'll know what they're gonna be studying coming on the next grade level. And so you can adjust your instructions so they can uh, get the information that they need and be successful in their learning. And we talked about formative assessments and how to use the data, and again how to analyze it, how are you going to use it. And well, finally, right at the end, we talked about with all the different suggestions that I already talked about, how we're going to present them to our administrators. So I took the time and talked to my principal about it. I gave her our suggestions in writing, and, and most of our concerns I think are things that can actually be done. There's not a thing in there that it's impossible for us because we have a lot of things that are working for our school right now. So I think most of our suggestions are going to be met. Now going okay, now I need to talk about a little bit of about what's this in the plan here. Responses, analysis of the responses for each question from the evaluation. Okay, yes, the agenda was followed. Um, I had a little bit of problem with the time because we only have 45 minutes, so I tried to cram all the information there, so that could be a lot better for next time. Trying to plan ahead, or maybe plan it for after school, not during our planning. The objectives, I think they were met. We had a very good conversation. There was a good discussion about the things that were being done and also about the suggestions. Uh, yeah, about the survey evaluation, the feedback was very positive. Uh, they liked about the information that I gave me. Communication was effective. There was a lot of collaboration because a lot of our teachers participated. I really thought it was going to be more a conversation between, well, mainly me talking to them, but no, everybody was engaged and trying really to get something going for next year, so we can have already a plan to start next year with a professional, mostly in our campus, because uh, there's the plan for the district, but also a professional development for us. So maybe we can take one of these the things that we discussed during this meeting and present in one of those days on our campus days. And what was surprising to me is is the willingness that the teachers have to change. I always expected that there's going to be some resilience to some of the things with resilience to change, that teachers don't want to change, but I found out that they really do, that there are some things that definitely need to change, and they are willing to try it. And how would this experience transform my practice as a school administrator? Well, trying to keep an open mind and try to listen to everybody, because we all come from different backgrounds, from different places, and you I need to learn how to listen and get some ideas from different perspectives, because it's not going to be the same talking to a kindergarten teacher forever, or talking to a first grade teacher, a second grade, because they all have different experiences, and they all have something to bring to our school to, well, to to make a difference in a student's education. Thank you.